So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Merity, and thanks again for doing this, Merity.
Hey, no problem. I actually really love that Chris came up with this idea because I think on Facebook he had seen a lot of people having issues with their sewing machines. And I was writing in, call me, I'll help, call me, I'll help. And I hadn't really heard from anybody. So it's really nice to try to get everybody together, including one of my students who's in the background, to talk about how do you set up a sewing machine that you've pulled out of, you know, the bottom of a closet or out of your basement that you haven't used in years, and how to get them up and running and threaded properly and all that good stuff so that you're set up for success and you can use all that energy to make something useful. A little bit about myself. I'm a government contractor. I'm a seamstress here in Bennington. I've been in business for over 20 years. My business includes not only alterations, but I do a lot of law enforcement uniforms and sewing machine service, and I have a manufacturing branch as well. So suffice it to say, I use a lot of sewing machines a lot of the time, all the time. They're attached to me. So that's pretty much my background. So I'm going to show you a few machines. If anybody has their machine handy and you want to keep it near your camera in case I don't touch on something specific about your machines, I have 3 behind me, and I set up a super high-tech swivel so that I can show you my machines and start giving you an idea of the different parts and pieces on a machine, because different brands have different parts and pieces. I wanted to go over threading. Just as a quick look at the machines I have here, this machine that you see here is an industrial machine. This one has spools that feed. These kind of bobbins are always going to be a top pull bobbin. So they feed up and then down into the machine. And then it's threaded basically the same as a standard home machine. You move to standard home machines, and basically these 2 machines are almost identical. This one's getting older, but it's still a really great machine. In fact, Jody's son, I believe, used this one in one of my classes at Monument. The only real major difference about these 2 home machines is the way the bobbin goes in them. This one's a front load bobbin versus this one being a top load bobbin. And when I get to how to thread the bobbins, Chris has some graphics that he can pull up to show you the difference between how these are threaded, because it's absolutely crucial that they're threaded properly. The industrial machine is actually a front load bobbin as well, but you can't see it because it's underneath the table, but it threads exactly the same as this one. It's just it's underneath. So that's how the different machines, that's essentially the differences between them and how they thread. So on a normal home machine, you have to use normal spools of thread. If you decide that you wanted to use one of these, you need to set it up in a way that it can come up to be pulled from the top. You can't use one of these on one of these. It wants to wobble while you're going, and it puts too much tension over here, so it'll throw your tension off down through, but it's a false read, because it's not that your tensions are thrown off, it's that this is so heavy and it's tumbling back and forth because it doesn't fit. So that's the difference between the bobbins. So always make sure you're using the right bobbin on the right spool of thread on the right machine, and if you decide to use those, you have to have a top pull to get that to happen for you. So if you're pulling old machines out of the attic or out of grandma's basement or barns and things like that, a lot of people like to give you their thread. If it's old cotton thread, put it in a case to look at because it's super pretty and they're on those really cute wooden spools, but they absolutely do not run them in your machine. They break every 2 seconds, and what happens is you end up super frustrated because they're breaking all the time, and it's not, if it has any age to it or if it's been exposed to the elements on any level. So you want to make sure you have decent new thread. I tend to use cotton poly. Gutermann's my favorite, which is 100% polyester. it doesn't break down. So it's going to just stay with you for as long as you've got it. It's going to stay whole.